Okay.
Man United.
I just want to talk a little bit about the start of all this, which was in 1979. My dad made a visit with JIA to Ashkelon and saw the poor state of dental care. There was no free dental care for those who couldn't afford it at the time. And it's at that point they had this bright idea for a free dental clinic to be manned by UK volunteers. The idea was he could achieve two things. First of all, to provide free dental care for children in Ashkelon, underprivileged children, and to build a bridge in relationship with UK dentists who would learn and understand a little bit more about Israel. The volunteers came from all religions and backgrounds. They weren't just Jewish volunteers, they were non-Jewish volunteers, and that's very important that he was able to create an understanding and maybe a love of Israel amongst a wider set of English people. So from the start, as soon as he got this idea, it was all he talked about. He lived and breathed the idea, literally. And whenever he ran up against an obstacle, like the Ministry of Health in Israel saying that for a dentist to be able to practice here, they had to have a license, he went there and he started to tell them that they had to create a temporary license for foreign dentists. And when they say they think about it, that boy, was that a mistake. He didn't stop until he got an agreement from them that they were going to give these dentists a temporary license to work in Israel for 2 or 3 weeks. Next challenge was what was the clinic going to be? Was it going to be in a mobile caravan? How was it going to be designed, the layout and everything? And he was on to that. Every detail of the project he was focused on, he was dedicated to, and he applied himself and gave all his energy. And of course there was this other thing that Marty's always also mentioned, his obsession with going around everywhere in Israel, and particularly in Ashkelon. Put fluoride in the water, put fluoride in the water. What are you doing? Come on. It'll help with the dental, it'll help prevent dental decay, and then we won't have to treat as many children. And of course there is the other side of the thing that Marty doesn't know. Whenever anybody came to our house, they happened to drop in the conversation, we're going to Israel in a week, 2 weeks time. That was enough. So there he would be, next day, round to their house with a big bag, which he would tell them at the time would be a small bag for them to take to Israel. 500, 1,000 toothbrushes. Could they take them? It was something that anyone who ever met, people I think stopped mentioning they were popping to Israel because it was just so bad. And I just want to mention one other thing. A pride of place in his home, on the mantelpiece, was a photograph, which you can see actually in there's a white little summary thing that's been sent around. You'll see the photograph. It's him standing outside the clinic in Ashkelon in his very British blue blazer. I think it was winter. And he's beaming, and there's all these little children around them, and he's pointing to their teeth. And that was a photograph that was always on the mantelpiece at home, having pride of place because he was so dedicated. And of course there was one other photograph on the mantelpiece next to it later on. That was when on January the 1st 1997, the dental clinic, there was a ceremony here to name the dental clinic after him, and it actually occurred 2 days after my wedding in Jerusalem. And of course at the wedding he stood up and made a speech, and the main thing of his speech was to tell people there's a free bus to Ashkelon, you better be on it for the ceremony. And that was him drumming up support for people to come here for that ceremony. Of course the clinic's no longer here, so I think it's lovely that now we've got a more permanent reminder in Ashkelon of the work my father did for Ashkelon. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.